Hello, I'm Bob Staples with E-Core, E-Major, CI, Curriculum and Instruction, and we have a presentation today on open educational resources. And we're very fortunate to have Angela Brodsky make this presentation, and so I'm going to just leave it over to her, and we'll get started with the presentation.
Hello. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Angela Brodsky, an OER instructional designer with USG's eCampus. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Awesome. Thanks. Thanks for letting me know. All right. I am also an instructor of sociology with the University of West Georgia, and today I will be talking with you about open education resources. I will begin by discussing the reasons OERs are necessary, defining OERs, and explaining the relevance of OERs to eCampus. And finally, I will provide information on how to implement OERs in your courses. Before I begin, let me introduce our partner in providing OERs to our faculty and students, Affordable Learning Georgia. Open educational resources are the main component of the Affordable Learning Georgia initiative. This is a USG initiative to promote student success by reducing the barriers associated with high-priced textbooks. ALG is funded primarily by grants. This initiative is tied into their strategic plan that directly benefits the students. There is a wealth of information available on this website that is listed here. And if you are scrambling to write it down, don't worry. I have it in future slides, so you'll see this link again. In higher education, there is a lot of money that is tied up in teaching materials that are copyrighted. Access to textbooks can be a major problem for college students. According to Daniel Williamson with Rice University, the increase in the cost of textbooks for college courses alone has increased more than major living expenses since 1978. While the Consumer Price Index, that's what CPI is on this chart, it reflects real dollars and does not reflect inflation. It's risen 262% since 1978, and the cost of textbooks has risen 975% as of 2014. That means that the price of textbooks has increased at about 3 times the rate of inflation. Additionally, the average cost of a single new textbook has increased from $57 in 2007 to $79 in 2013, which is about a 39% increase over a 6-year period. So while in actual dollars this doesn't seem like a major increase in a single textbook price, but the cost of materials collectively, meaning for all classes that a student will take, greatly influences students, especially those who rely on financial aid to help pay for school. If an average textbook price of $79 actually seems pretty low for a textbook, I tend to agree with you on that. Dan Cox of Priceonomics conducted an audit of new textbook prices at the University of Virginia in 2015 and found that new textbooks for STEM courses are more expensive on average than those for humanities and social sciences. But you can see here, physics, mathematics, chemistry, engineering, etc., they average above $140 per book new, while English literature, African American studies, etc., average around $20 per book new. Again, this graph represents an average cost of textbooks per subject. Here you can see the data further broken down by subject and actual dollars for the highest priced textbooks. So this is the highest priced ones that were on the list in the study. Many students will echo that this seems more realistic, of their expenses on textbooks during visits to university bookstores. As you can see, once again, the majority of these texts are STEM courses in lab sciences. These prices do not include any laboratory materials, only the textbooks. Interestingly, this data also shows what students are spending on used textbooks, which is much higher than the overall textbook price average of $79 listed before. That number is so low because courses in the humanities such as philosophy, literature, women's studies, all of those hover around $20 per text new, and many are actually much lower than that. In a study from the Center of Teaching and Learning with the University of Georgia in 2016, Watson and Foskey asked students, how much do you typically spend on textbooks? They found that 49% of students reported that they pay over $300 per semester on textbooks. And what the status shows is that when it's taken into account that most students take more than one course, the collective price of all their textbooks creates a financial burden for many students. So why is this so important? Isn't it just part of going to college that you have to pay for textbooks also? Shouldn't it be an expected expense that students plan for? While that makes sense, the reality is much different for many students. In a 2012 survey by the Florida Virtual Campus, who spearheaded Beyond Content, more than 60% of students reported that they did not purchase books due to the price of textbooks. More importantly, 23% of those students surveyed reported that they usually go without the textbook due to the cost of it. Textbook costs are affecting how many classes students can take as well as DFW rates. Many students report withdrawing from courses due to the cost of textbooks, mostly because they know not having the text will negatively impact their course performance. It makes sense then that the success rate of students without access to textbooks is much lower than the success rate of those who have access. And that is exactly what the results of other studies have found. This infographic is from the publication University Business, which combined data from the U.S. PIRG report in 2013 and the Association of American Publishers in 2014. As we saw a few slides back, the 2014 numbers are on the rise in textbook costs. But this infographic incorporates several important numbers to analyze in the issues of textbook accessibility. In addition to the percentage of the rise in textbook costs and that 65% of students go without textbook, the average student spends about $1,200 per academic year on books and supplies, resulting in a $4.3 billion profit margin for the publishers that were surveyed by the Association of American Publishers. That's quite a lot. The problem here is confounded by copyright law, though. A student cannot legally download a free copy of a textbook, nor can a professor scan in an entire book to increase student access to course materials, or they can't encourage piracy either of copyrighted material. So what fixes the problem with copyright laws and access to course text then are open education resources, or OERs. Why OERs are so important in education is because most studies have shown that post-secondary students having access to the course textbook is an indicator of student success. Students with access to the text perform better in courses than students who don't have access to textbooks. This is the results of one of those studies. It was done in 2011 and 2012 by John Hilton and Carol Landman from Southwest College. They found that the GPA of students increased with the use of open textbooks, and the withdrawal rate in classes with open textbook was half of what it was in courses that used traditional textbooks. Students also scored higher on the final exams in classes using open textbooks compared with the traditional textbooks. Just so we're clear, there are many other studies that demonstrate that the outcomes for students that use OERs and standard textbooks are exactly the same, meaning OERs are not demonstrably better than standard textbooks. However, they are just as good, and that is notable. So what exactly are OERs? There are many types of OERs, such as textbooks, online lecture materials such as PowerPoints and quizzes, and even course syllabi are considered OERs if they are open to be used, reused, remixed, updated, etc. by others. They are typically offered to students at no cost, but there are some instances where students may have to pay a small fee for access, such as language or mathematics software. Open textbooks specifically are typically authored by faculty and published on the web with the support of their universities or the university press that supports their home institution, or a few commercial companies. This new business model enables free online access to textbooks. The authoring and hosting of these resources is usually supported by grants from educational foundations. OERs tend to be released under a specific type of license that allows content to be used in various ways without obtaining expressed written consent from the authors. So this is copyright as you know it. See inside of a circle, it means that artistic items such as written materials, videos, movies, audios, photos, etc. are protected by copyright law. The author or creator reserves the rights to the items, and the rights to reproduce, redistribute these items belong solely to the author. Copyright protects multiple types of intellectual property. Most of the time, this symbol appears with items that have been registered with the United States, or in the United States with the United States Copyright Office. It is not required that intellectual property actually be registered with USCO in order to be protected by copyright law. Authors and creators can actually protect their work just by using this symbol on it, whether the works are registered or not. OERs, however, are much different in that standard copyrighted materials that are typically used in classrooms and educational settings. For starters, they are openly licensed, which permits their free use and repurposing by others. These resources reside in the public domain, which makes them easily found and means that they are usable by anyone. A Creative Commons license, which is represented by a CC in a circle, you can see it here on your screen in the right left corner. I'm sorry, upper left corner, not upright. But a Creative Commons license is one of several public licenses that enable the free distribution of what would otherwise be a copyrighted work. In fact, Creative Commons is the most widely used license for OERs. A CC license is used when an author wants to give people the right to share, use, and or build upon a work that they have created. Anyone who builds upon the license is asked to share it back into the learning community. Nothing with a CC license can be later copyrighted. It must remain open and it must remain in the public domain. Okay, so to access the licensing information for the OER that is used in your particular course, you can navigate to the syllabus and look under course text section. Here you will find that information on access as well as a link to the specific license. This here is an example from an American government course that is on eCore. The text listed here holds a Creative Commons license with several other attributes beside it. It may be hard to see it on the slide, but this one has a CC, BY, NC, and D beside it. So what do all of these mean? What can you do with this text, and how can you use it or distribute it? So just to sum up what we saw, Creative Commons is noted by a logo with two C's inside a circle, which we're calling CC. So we saw CC, BY, NC, ND on the American government textbook that we saw on the previous screen. And now you can see what all these mean. BY is the attribution, meaning the author must be credited. Occasionally there will be CC works that do not show authoring, so they may not have this licensing requirement. NC means that the work is only available for non-commercial use. So it can be used in an educational setting, but it cannot be used by any for-profit marketing groups. ND means that this particular work cannot be modified or remixed, as we call it. So if the work you are using has this logo, do not change it when you distribute it to your students. You can add to things, you can modify things, you can supplement with things, but don't change the exact work. This is actually the most restrictive CC license that exists. So it acts like a normal copyright would. If the license does not have the ND, you are free to modify and remix the material, then share it back into the learning community. So in summary, you may not apply your own legal terms or seek your own licensing or copywriting for any kind of Creative Commons licensed material, and you cannot do anything to it legally to restrict others from using it or distributing it also. Here's a link to the website for Creative Commons. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the link above. They have a lot of information. If you have any work that you would like to apply a Creative Commons license to, they give you step-by-step instructions on how to do that as well. Okay, now I'll explain the impact of using OERs on students. The adoption of OERs in eCore and eMajor classes has had a significant financial and academic impact for our students. This slide shows the financial impact. All eCore courses, with the exception of Spanish, utilize OER textbooks. This has saved our students almost $6 million since the implementation of it in summer of 2013. eMajor has some OERs, but there's still some work to be done. There are 18 courses that require textbook purchase right now. On the right is the bookstore pricing of our current eMajor textbooks, and it's listed by course. As you can see, the price of the books looks a lot like the slide I showed you earlier on the prices from the textbooks at University of Virginia. Some of them are quite expensive, and only one is under $20. In this 2016 study of three separate classes, two of them were with standard textbooks and one of them was with OERs. The researcher here is Yu. She found that there was not much difference in the ABC rate of standard classes and those with OERs. What's interesting, though, is that there were 70.8 students in the OER class with an AB average, whereas in the standard classes, about 60% were in the AB range. This is not a statistical or a significant statistical difference in this study of those with D's and F's. However, you reported that the drop in withdrawal rates for the OER class was half that of what it was for standard classes. These results are actually fairly typical of most OERs and standard classes. They are not better, however, they are just as good. We have already discussed the first two factors. Now I want to shift the focus to implementation. As an in-campus instructor, you have the opportunity to get involved in this initiative. One of the most important components of open education resources is the involvement in their creation and use by educators. Here is a visual of the collaborative model. To develop and implement an OER in your course, you can work with eCampus support, eCampus instructional designers, and eCampus partners, including the University of North Georgia Press. They're one of the partners that we have in publishing OERs. The writing and publication process can seem really complicated and daunting. However, what is sometimes seen as a drawback to OERs, eCampus is able to leverage through a partnership with the University of North Georgia Press. UNGP provides all of these services that you see listed on the screen here, including the very important process of peer review. Some faculty that are new to OERs distrust OERs under the premise that they can't possibly be as good as standard materials because of the peer review process and that it's invisible to them. However, to answer this concern, all OERs that are used by eCampus, all of them that UNPG publish, and all of them that are published by OpenStax, who is another textbook publisher that we use quite often here at eCampus, all of them have been double-blind peer-reviewed, which is a really high standard in academia. eCampus also offers a variety of resources to help in the development and implementation process. A few of these resources are assisting with course redesign, find and evaluate existing material, review and evaluate instructional design components, design, develop, and implement instructional strategies. There are a lot of resources that are available to assist in the creation of courses and, evaluating materials that are OERs for use in courses. So if you are interested in creating additional OER material, here's the process. Start by seeing what is out there. We are in the process of creating OER modules on Garden of eCore right now, so be on the lookout for those and more information there. So you start by looking and seeing what's out there. Next, decide if you want to utilize existing resources or start from scratch. This would include being interested in updating any existing text or modifying them to have a different format. Then you can contact eCore CI for our partnerships and support and let us know that you're interested. For more information, you can visit the Affordable Learning Georgia website. Here's that link once again, just as I promised. There you will find many useful links to things such as search engines, statistics, and bookstores. You can also see lots of different past events that have occurred and events that are coming up in the future on OERs. I realize this was a lot of information to digest in such a short amount of time, but now I'd like to open up a discussion about OERs. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to give you guys a moment to type. Okay, let's see. Yenning says, it looks the pic on the screen does not match your audio on my end. On your end, are you seeing the Affordable Learning Georgia icon and then the website address? The website should be right here. Do you guys see that? Okay. Okay. That's my next slide. Sorry. But yeah, so were these slides not on cue with what I was saying? Is that what you're saying, Yenning? Oh, she's left the room. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, that concludes today's webinar. Thank you so much for being a part of this series. If you have any questions about OERs used in your eMajor or eCore classes, please feel free to email me at abrodsky@wesco.edu. Here at eCampus, we have another OER instructional designer, Yenning Zhang. She's here in the room. She specializes in ADA compliance of online content and accessibility, so please feel free also to email Yenning if you have any questions. Just as I said earlier, we are in the process of creating an OER module on Garden of eCore, so be on the lookout for that. And thank you again, and I hope to see you guys soon. You're very welcome, Cynthia. Thank you. Thank you, Yenning.
Well, we want to tell our appreciation to Angela for doing this great presentation, reminding us of the purpose, the value, a little bit of the background, how to use it, why it's relevant, the impact on our students. This was tremendous, and I appreciate the time put into that presentation. Also, there's a reminder of the future of that in our work with our eCampus students. This is going to be recorded, and you could go back through the video if you want to, and we will send a PDF so you could look at those good points that Angela had to say. We all know the value of Google Books. We've all experienced that, and we probably do OERs with our students anyway without calling it that, but we see a tremendous value in this, and this presentation made that abundantly clear. So again, thank you, Angela, and we want you to be aware of these resources that are available for you, and we're going to do more to present some of our videos and make some new videos so that you have access to them as faculty members, and you could help us to continue to deliver good quality content to our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everyone.